New details on the alleged backstage altercation between AEW stars MJF and Britt Baker that led to the former AEW Women's World Champion being suspended by All Elite Wrestling. However, Britt Baker has since responded on social media with a cryptic post. We'll let you know all of the details on that. The Lucha Brothers are reportedly expected to leave AEW once their contracts expire with the company later on this year, with the expectation that they are set to sign with WWE. Bronson Reed attacked Seth Rollins last night on Raw as Drew McIntyre and CM Punk's feud resumes. The Wyatt Six make their in-ring debut last night, defeating Chad Gable and also the Creed brothers. The Terror Twins reunite last night on Raw as they go up against the brand new version of the Judgment Day. Randy Orton is set to challenge for Gunther's World Heavyweight Championship at Bash in Berlin. Odyssey Jones makes his debut on Raw after being drafted twice to the Red Brand, joining up with the New Day. Details on Becky Lynch's future in professional wrestling after a recent post on Instagram led to some to speculate that she was set to retire. Plus, we have the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown on Fox and AEW Rampage on TNT. Hey guys, welcome back to Wrestling News 365. Hope everyone is doing very well. As always, plenty of news stories to get into in the world of professional wrestling. Let's begin with the latest when it comes to the backstage altercation between former AEW Women's World Champion Britt Baker and former AEW World Champion MJF. New details have emerged about the confrontation involving AEW's Britt Baker, MJF, and Alicia A. Tout. According to multiple reports, the former Women's World Champion was suspended following an incident involving the current AEW American Champion MJF and his girlfriend A. Tout. On Monday, Ibo of Wrestle Purist confirmed previous reports from the likes of Dave Meltzer and Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful, claiming that there was an altercation between Baker and MJF that happened the night of AEW Dynamite 250, resulting in Baker's suspension. According to Ibo, Baker was allegedly burying MJF and Will Ospreay while in the women's locker room during their hour-long match on the episode, and A-Tout let Friedman know via a text message. Wrestle Purist confirmed Ospreay was the first person to confront Baker and ask her why she was starting issues backstage. Quote, Ospreay confronted her, asked her about it. Britt Baker went off on Alicia A. Tout, Ibo explains. Britt Baker called Alicia A. Tout by multiple accounts a stupid effing bitch because Alicia A. Tout informed MJF that Britt Baker was berating him, talking crap about Max and Ospreay, end quotes. Wrestle Purist was able to confirm that MJF did punch a wall and go into the women's locker room, but according to multiple sources, MJF was not suspended due to the context of the events. MJF reportedly did not hit the wall in front of Baker, but walked far down the hallway where no one was there to hit the wall. As for MJF entering the women's locker room, Wrestle Purist claims he knocked, asked to enter, and was allowed in. Quote, the reason he was not suspended is because HR had all the details and the information and the footage, and they looked at it all over and they said, okay, you're not in the wrong here and you're just coming to the defense of your girlfriend, Ibo reported. As for Baker's suspension, Meltzer noted it was for either 1 or 2 weeks. Ibo confirmed that Baker is still set to challenge Mercedes Moné for the TBS Championship at AEW All In on August 25. Now, Britt Baker maybe has kind of dismissed some of the recent rumours about her suspension by AEW following the backstage altercation. Baker posted the following post on X, you can see on the screen right there, that sarcastically hit back at reports of her suspension following an argument between her and MJF. Quote, you ever heard a rumour about yourself and actually wanted to hear more? Like, no way. What did I do next, said Baker. Now, as I mentioned, reports had suggested that Baker was fined and suspended for 1 or 2 weeks following this confrontation with MJF backstage. If we get any more details on the incident in question, the reaction to Baker's tweets, or anything like that, we'll let you know in a future video. But what are your thoughts when it comes to the latest developments regarding all of this? Now, we brought you previously that, of course, Penta El Zero Miedo, Rey Fenix, their contracts with AEW are up later on this year, and recently both men had filed to trademark several names, possibly indicating an exit from All Elite Wrestling. Well, that may now have been confirmed according to a new report. The luchador market could be about to welcome 2 new free agents, but they might not be free agents for long. According to a report from Wrestle Purists, AEW's Lucha Brothers are not expected to renew their contracts when they expire. As for Rey Fenix and Penta El Zero Miedo's next destination, there is an overwhelming belief within AEW that the 2 stars are WWE bound. Wrestle Purist Ibo broke the news on their post-SummerSlam livestream and included details about the Lucha Bros' immediate plans, especially in regards to AEW's upcoming All-In pay-per-view. The Lucha Brothers were reportedly slated for a match alongside fellow Death Triangle member Pac against the Patriarchy for the World Trios Championships at Wembley Stadium. However, according to Wrestle Purists, that plan has since been scrapped following news of the Lucha Brothers' intentions to leave the company. The plan now is reportedly to run a triple threat trios title match involving the Patriarchy, the Bang Bang Gang, and the House of Black. This match has yet to be announced in any official capacity, but the 3 teams have been feuding on AEW programming. Quote, when the AEW All-In match got cancelled, I asked around internally. Multiple sources within AEW told me, basically made it clear to me that the Lucha Brothers are expected to depart AEW at the end of their contract, Ibo said. Some of them speculated that WWE was the destination. Others outright said to me that it was a formality. Now, previous reports have indicated WWE has interest in Penta, whose contract is expected to expire in the next 2 months. While there has been no reports of WWE's interest towards Phoenix, however, it was reported last week that by Sean Ross Sapp that there is an expectation that Phoenix will have interest from WWE. Of course, it has been speculated that Phoenix's injury caused his AEW contract to be extended and that WWE would sign both Phoenix and Penta as a unit. So what are your thoughts on the potential of the Lucha Brothers leaving AEW and being set to sign with WWE? How big of a loss is this for AEW if indeed it happens? How big of a pickup is it for WWE if indeed it happens as well? Let me know your thoughts about that one too. Now, Raw last night saw a big segment involving CM Punk, Drew McIntyre, Seth Rollins, as well as Big Bronson Reed. Now, it probably won't come as much of a surprise to most fans to learn that the feud between CM Punk and Drew McIntyre and Seth freaking Rollins would be continuing on past McIntyre's victory over Punk at SummerSlam, as was made clear by Punk's calling out of McIntyre and Rollins' interruption on Raw. But Big Bronson Reed involving himself in their segment likely wasn't on anybody's bingo card either, and when all was said and done, it seemed like Reed was all anyone was talking about. The former NXT North American champion, whose main roster run has had many stops and starts since his returning to WWE in December of 2022, appeared in an early backstage segment on Raw, letting general manager Adam Pearce know that he was done waiting for an opportunity and he was going to take matters into his own hands. And he did just that by blindsiding Rollins, who was left alone in the ring after a stare down with Punk when the latter turned his attention towards McIntyre, who chirped him from the crowd about still being in possession of his beloved bracelets. Following a Death Valley driver and a pair of sentons, Reed hit not just one of his devastating Toonami finishes, but 6 in total before being made to leave by WWE officials as Rollins lay bleeding from the mouth and nose inside of the squared circle. Punk initially came out looking for an instant return engagement with McIntyre before being interrupted by Rollins, who said, quote, after 10 long years, it's finally time for me to put you in the dirt. The two squared off before McIntyre's voice echoed through the arena and their plans were derailed, but little did Rollins know how far off said rails his night would go, all thanks to the former NXT North American champion. Now, as far as what the future plans could be when it comes to CM Punk and Drew McIntyre, it looks like things are about to get much more violent. Now, while we may have seen Punk running after McIntyre following a verbal assault that featured mentions of the, quote, stupid-looking dog Larry and Punk's lovely wife AJ, we now have details as to when they could be clashing again. According to WRKD Wrestling, Punk vs. McIntyre is currently planned as a main event of WWE Bad Blood, with some suggestion we could be getting a special match type for this. WWE Bad Blood is making a return to the PLE calendar after an absence of 20 years on October 5, 2024. Not only will Punk vs. McIntyre be a main event for the upcoming PLE, but WRKD Wrestling also revealed the match will be inside Hell in a Cell. The last Hell in a Cell match to take place on WWE television came at WrestleMania 39 in April of last year as Edge defeated the Demon Finn Balor. Now, the Wyatt Six, they made their in-ring debut last night, but before they did, we got a closer look at Joe Gacy. Now, before the start of Raw, WWE posted a video to social media about the Wyatt family debuting 11 years ago yesterday in Baltimore, Maryland. Last night, once again in Baltimore, the Wyatt Six made their in-ring debut, and the video that aired during the show as well got us a closer glimpse at Joe Gacy. In the video, Joe Gacy was seen sitting on the floor in the corner of the room with his back to the camera. The piano chords that signaled the Wyatts played until Uncle Howdy said, quotes, "They thought that they could control you. They locked you away, but I saw through their lies. Open your heart to the man in the woods, and now we'll make them all pay for their sins." The camera then cut to Gacy, who was looking directly at the camera and shouted in a distorted voice, "Let us in." Now, Gacy was shown wearing the Huskers mask instead of the usual jump scare to close the video. The bird symbol was shown. Since the Wyatt Six revealed themselves, each members that make up the group, Abby the Witch, has delivered a VHS video to Pat McAfee. Each VHS had a little background, with Bo Dallas speaking with Uncle Howdy about losing his brother and why the Wyatt Six are together in the first few videos. Eric Rowan, now portraying the Ramblin' Rabbit gimmick, was the next person fans heard from. Besides Dallas, he is the one with the longest connection to the late Bray Wyatt. He spoke of losing both Wyatt and Brody Lee / Luke Harper and being lost after both of their respective deaths. Abby the Witch didn't speak, but Uncle Howdy spoke how they lied to her and watched her suffer, after which she danced with Howdy. Last week we learned a little more about Dexter Lumis, who now has a large X on his forehead and sports dreadlocks. Much like Abby, Lumis rarely spoke. Uncle Howdy referenced both Mercy and Buzzard as Lumis made Mercy the Buzzard come to life. Lumis uttered a singular phrase, "run." So that paved the way and set the stage for the Wyatt Six to make their in-ring debut on Raw last night. And after months of codes, teases, cryptic posts and backstage vignettes, the Wyatt Six made an in-ring debut with Joe Gacy, Dexter Lumis and Eric Rowan victorious in the Raw main event match against the Creed brothers and Chad Gable. With Bo Dallas and Nikki Cross remaining fully in character as Uncle Howdy and Abby the Witch watching at ringside, the Six prevailed when Gacy powerbombed Lumis on top of a fallen Gable before Lumis hit a Rowan-assisted splash off the top rope to finish off their adversaries, now known as American Made. Entering to the final theme Bray Wyatt had used before his untimely death, a first for the group since their collective return to the company, and with Howdy seated in Wyatt's old rocking chair while Abby sat next to him with his lantern, a significant level of emotion was added to the faction's presentation. Additionally, the match itself contained plenty of references in tribute to both Wyatt and Brody Lee, Rowan's fallen original Wyatt family brothers. Both Rowan and Howdy shouted "yeah, yeah, yeah" at times, with the former adding a kiss towards the heavens. As has become customary, the group posed in a similar fashion to how the Wyatts did in celebration of the victory and in honor of the fallen. Commentary went back and forth with references to Lumis and Gacy invoking their alter egos of Mercy the Buzzard and Huskus the Pig Boy respectively, but Rowan, who was called upon by the Baltimore crowd with "We want Rowan" chants as he waited to get tagged into the match, was largely referred to by his long-standing name. All three men donned their in-character masks during the entrance, but set them aside, along with questions as to how they might function for their performance between the ropes. What did you make of the in-ring debut of the Wyatt Six last night on Raw? Now, the Terror Twins, they faced off against the new version of the Judgment Day. And I say a new version of the Judgment Day because, of course, we saw the group implode at SummerSlam this past weekend. After an explosive SummerSlam for the Judgment Day that saw Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley betrayed by Finn Balor and Dominic Mysterio, respectively, questions regarding the group's status and the remaining lineup swirled around wrestling communities. On Monday's edition of Raw, Balor made the Judgment Day status very clear as he sat beside Mysterio, JD McDonough, Carlito, and WWE Women's World Champion Liv Morgan. Damian Priest took to the microphone during Raw's first commercial-free hour to call out Balor, whose match interference led to the end of Priest's 118 days-long reign as the World Heavyweight Champion. After failing to draw Balor out into the ring for a face-to-face confrontation, Priest officially cemented his babyface turn as he christened the Baltimore crowd and the WWE Universe by extension his new family. Balor eventually appeared to respond to Priest's call, albeit via being on the Titantron. Priest challenged Balor to a match, to which Balor scoffed. Balor acknowledged Priest's scrappy background, but called Priest a loser from the streets. Balor offered JD McDonough to have a match with Priest, electing to sit on the sidelines until Priest was comfortable. Then Balor threatened he would strike. Quote, "When your back is turned, I'll be there to stab you in it again and again and again," Balor promised. "And it won't just be me, we all will." The camera on Balor's video panned out to show the new version of the Judgment Day, where Ripley should have been standing. Morgan was instead exchanging intimate skinship with Mysterio. Priest rolled out of the ring and started stomping towards the back in rage. Now, this led to a match later on in the evening, as I mentioned, between Damian Priest and JD McDonough. Perhaps as expected, the rest of the Judgment Day would eventually jump Priest as he was left alone to fight them all. However, when Morgan and Dominic Mysterio were dropping feet on Priest, Rhea Ripley appeared and ran into the ring. While Dominic was able to escape, Ripley would eventually get her hands on Morgan. In the end, Damian Priest and Rhea Ripley stood tall as the Terror Twins were very much still together despite having been ousted from their former faction. So where do you think this one goes next? What did you make of the babyface turn of Damian Priest as well as the Terror Twins moving forward? How do you think this one plays out on WWE television? Now, Gunther, he's the brand new World Heavyweight Champion, and we know his first opponent for his brand new acquired title. The first match for Bash in Berlin has been announced and could potentially be the main event. In the opening segment of Raw, new World Heavyweight Champion Gunther came out to celebrate his SummerSlam victory over Damian Priest. After being introduced by a returning Ludwig Kaiser, Gunther touted his previous accomplishments, including his record-setting Intercontinental Championship reign, as well as his King of the Ring victory. Right as the ring general was calling himself greatness personified, Randy Orton of SmackDown's music hit. Orton said that title looked good, hanging on the shoulder of Gunther, but he couldn't help but realize he is the reason Gunther is champion. Orton was referring to the pair's King of the Ring final match, where Orton's shoulders were not down when Gunther pinned him and the referee counted to 3, declaring the Austrian the winner. The snafu was referenced by Paul Triple H Levesque in the press conference and in an interview following the event, and he alluded to a possible rematch in the future. Orton said that he came out to confront Gunther to call that in. He challenged Gunther at Bash in Berlin and told him, "I'm going to walk out of your home country, the new World Heavyweight Champion." Gunther said not beating Orton clean left a stain on his record and accepted the challenge. As the segment ended, the camera caught Gunther telling Orton, "Nothing catches me out of nowhere," to which Orton, talking about the RKO, said, quote, "I want you to see it coming." Now, Bash in Berlin will take place on August 31st at the Uber Arena in the country's capital. Now, finally, we've seen Odyssey Jones make his debut on Raw. I say finally because it's been quite a while coming. After being drafted to Raw back in 2023, after a run in NXT, and then again earlier this year, having never officially debuted for the Red Brand, Odyssey Jones finally debuted Monday night to help the New Day in their ongoing feud against the Final Testament. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods were taking on the Authors of Pain with Karrion Kross, Paul Ellering, and Scarlett at ringside. During the match, Kross hit a cheap shot to Woods while the New Day member was on the top turnbuckle, causing him to fall to the mat, where Rezar looked to do more damage. That's when Jones came down the ramp wearing a New Day t-shirt and sent Kross into the ring apron, then over the barricade into the crowd. The distraction allowed Woods to roll up Rezar for the victory, and enraged Akam and Rezar started to beat down the New Day before Jones got into the ring and took both members of the Authors of Pain out, delivering a spectacular double sidewalk slam. Kross then got into the ring to try and take on Jones, but he also received a slam for his troubles. The 30-year-old 405-pound star appeared backstage with the New Day, and Kingston explained that they linked up at the Performance Center and Jones wanted to come and help them with their Final Testament problem. Jones, Kingston and Woods were greeted by the Alpha Academy, who started to dance with delight. Though not featured on WWE television, Jones was last defeated by Amos in a Road to WrestleMania house show at the end of March, according to Cage Match. So finally, Odyssey Jones is on the main roster. What do you think of his inclusion in the New Day? How do you think this one's going to play out moving forward? Now, a bit of an update on Becky Lynch. Many people have wondered just what's going on with the former WWE superstar now that her contract has expired, and particularly after a bit of a cryptic recent post on Instagram. Becky Lynch has everyone up in arms over an Instagram post that many had assumed was regarding a potential retirement. On yesterday's Fightful Select Q&A show, Sean Ross Sapp addressed the concerns from fans on Monday. Fightful reached out to sources close to the situation and WWE. WWE sources said that if she was retired in an official capacity, they haven't hadn't been informed of it as of yet, and didn't believe if she did retire that it would be via Instagram. However, it was also noted by one WWE source that she's not under a WWE contract to their knowledge and could retire without notifying them if she so choose to do so. WWE sources have repeatedly stated that Becky Lynch is enjoying her time off, and they wanted to be respectful of her space after what she's given to them over the last decade or so. It was also reiterated that she would also always be welcome back to WWE. At the time her contract expired, she was planning on simply taking time off, and WWE and Lynch both believe, if and when the time is right, that she would be back in the fold. Now, we have the ratings for Friday's edition of SmackDown. Of course, it was the SummerSlam go-home show on Fox, and it bounced back in terms of viewership and ratings following a decline from the previous week due to them going head-to-head with the Olympics. WrestleNomics has reported that the blue brand garnered 2.179 million viewers for the August 2nd edition of SmackDown. The number represents a 6% jump from the previous week, while the ratings for the show saw an even bigger 15% increase, registering a rating of a 0.60 compared to the 0.52 the prior week. The report disclosed that the Olympics on NBC averaged a whopping 13.1 million viewers. While overall viewership and ratings increased compared to the previous week, last week's SmackDown show declined in both metrics when comparing the trailing full-week average. Viewership and ratings of WWE and AEW shows have shrunk over the last 2 weeks due to the Olympics airing around the same time. Last week's SmackDown saw the final touches being put on storylines heading into SummerSlam, with the show kicking off with a confrontation between Solo Sikoa and undisputed WWE Champion Cody Rhodes ahead of their clash in the SummerSlam main event. Logan Paul and LA Knight came face to face in the ring, and the team of Jade Cargill and Bianca Belair lost their Women's Tag Team Championship match against holders Isla Dawn and Alba Fire, thanks to interference by Blair Davenport. The show was headlined by a WWE Tag Team Championship match where the Bloodlines Jacob Fatu and Tama Tonga defeated Johnny Gargano and Tommaso Ciampa. This coming week on SmackDown could get a huge boost in the ratings thanks to the return of Roman Reigns, who is advertised for Friday night's show in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And finally, not good news when it comes to AEW Rampage in the ratings, as this week it was record low stuff for All Elite Wrestling. The Friday, August 2nd edition of AEW Rampage averaged 209,000 viewers on TNT, down 31.7% from the previous week. It's the lowest audience total in the history of the show, including times when it was moved to the afternoon or aired very late at night. In the 18 to 49 demographic, Rampage drew a 0.07, down 30% from last week. This ties two other episodes that aired outside of Rampage's regular time slot for the lowest rating in show history. Rampage aired against Olympic coverage on NBC, USA Network, and Peacock on Friday nights. The Olympics ranked first on both network and cable television. As compared to the same week in 2023, Rampage's overall viewership was down 51.8%, while its 18 to 49 rating was down by a whopping 50%. But there you go, guys, the latest pro wrestling news for you. Be sure to smash a like on the like button. Be sure to subscribe button right hand corner. As always, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll speak to you again very, very soon.
Hey guys, thank you for watching, listening, streaming, or however you come across this video today. Be sure to click on the video on the right there to watch our next video, or click the bottom there to subscribe, or the bottom right hand corner. Thank you very much, and I'll speak to you again very soon.